Hi everybody, welcome. I'm going to be shortly joined by Sophia Style. Let's see how I can get I've just sent the invite and
Hi.
there she is. Hi Sophia. Great
Hi,
to
Kathy, how are
finally see
you?
you. Hi.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So everybody who's joining us, my name's Kathy Walkley. I'm co-founder at Eco Femme, and I'm joined here today with Sophia Style, who is the founder of Mujer Cíclica, which is literally means cyclical woman. Yes. Yeah. And she's based in Barcelona in Spain. And yeah, Sophia, I'm so excited about finally talking to you. We go back a long way. We've been connected for, I think we figured out about 15 years or more. And I think I first learned about you and your work when we were actually before we'd even started EcoFemme in its current incarnation. I was making cloth pads here in Oroville, and I believe a friend might have introduced us, and I became aware of your work around menstrual cycle awareness and literacy. And I think this was the first time I'd even was aware that this was a thing, that somebody was devoting their life to this topic. So yeah, I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about you and your journey with Mujer Cíclica, and what it is actually that you've founded, and that you've been devoting yourself to this work for the last, I don't know, probably more than 15 years. So could you tell us a little bit about what you do and yeah, what's the inspiration behind your work?
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm not hearing you clearly. Let's see. No, it's a little bit, I don't know, maybe someone could let us know in the chat if there's any, if it's just me that's having issues. Otherwise, maybe I'll try unplugging my headphone. Oops. I seem to have a little buffering thing going on. How are we doing? Oops, lost her. Let me see if I can get her back. Yeah. Okay.
Try again.
Okay. Yeah, much better. Great. Yeah, it seems like others were having difficulty hearing you as well.
Is that better
Now I can't
now? Can
see.
you
Oh,
hear me now?
perfect. Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, really my whole path connecting to the menstrual cycle in many ways came out of really having a lot of difficulty with my own cycle. From a my teenage years, I had terrible menstrual pain, and my premenstrual phase was really intense. I felt kind of like a volcano was exploding every month, and I just thought, how can it be that something that's a natural part of being a woman is actually so challenging for me. So I started on a journey of like even asking my men. I was like, remember lying in bed with terrible menstrual pains and just saying, what are you telling me? What's all this pain about? You know? And I just started listening to the answers and at many different levels. And one thing the menstrual pain was telling me was just you need to stop and slow down. You can't be like constantly, so active and pushing. And I felt a lot of pressure, as a woman to really prove myself. And so the menstrual pain, it really opened up for me a whole journey of listening to my needs of my body and my cycles, that there are, times when I have a lot of energy and want to connect, and be sociable, and other times when I really need to rest and slow down. And so that yeah, just took me on a path that became so fascinating to me, and I realized that a lot of other women also struggling and living their menstrual cycle with a lot of negativity and rejection. And then the other important step that happened, which was I think I found someone selling your menstrual pads in England. That's how we first connected. And
Okay.
I started using the cloth pads, really thinking, environmentally, that I didn't want to keep on throwing away, Tampax and disposable pads. So I started using the cloth pads, and then what really amazed me is that it made me connect, come in contact with my menstrual blood, and then began to show me as well a whole new way of relating to my menstruation. And it was so different to me, the experience of, washing the pads by hand and then pouring the water with my blood back into the earth. It was like suddenly I realized that my inner menstrual cycle is totally connected to the cycles of nature, and also that was kind of amazing revelation.
Yeah. Um, that so echoes my own journey too. Like, I think I remember very vividly the first experience I had with washing a cloth pad as well. And I think this was long before imagining actually making a sort of social enterprise out of cloth pads. But it was exactly as you described. It was a kind of revelation of, first of all, just reflecting on my initial response of feeling a sort of like unease with the idea of washing and handling my menstrual blood, and then of course actually doing it and realizing, it was just this curiosity kind of was evoked, and it made me sort of start a questioning into the conditioning that I had absorbed, and I think so many of us absorb from culture that sort of, tells us there's something kind of dirty and disgusting about our menstrual blood. So yeah, it was a doorway for me too. And of course, there are many rooms in that mansion. But I think where our journeys really differ is that yours really started with a curiosity about menstrual cycle and really trying to find a way to handle, manage, live with pain. And, again, I think curiosity is another common word here to really find out what's behind this. Is this just a life doomed to pain, or is there maybe more going on? And there was something in what you said too that I'd just love to pick up a little bit on, because I often hear this, and I think it's a really legitimate concern. And as you've been working with so many women over so many years around how to cultivate this intimacy with the menstrual cycle, one of the questions that often comes up is how do, it's sort of like it feels like such an indulgence at times to really slow down and allow rest when, when there's so many demands and this sort of relentless pressure to be on and productive. And I wonder if you could just say a little bit more about that from your experience, like, how have you navigated that? What do you do to give yourself time to slow down? And how do you sort of respond when women say, I'm too busy, or, it's really difficult and challenging for me to kind of carve out that time?
Children, and with the pressures of work commitments. One way in which I felt I could honor my cycle more is kind of being self-employed and being able to organize my own times more. But yeah, I think it's a huge question for women about, how also we can prioritize our needs and say no, and external demands, and how challenging that can be. I try and one of the things that really helped me was maybe I couldn't always like slow down and rest in the way that, for example, I imagine the red tents and moon huts in other cultures and other times where, from what I've received, women, were supported by the rest of the community to really rest and go inwards and listen to their dreams while they were menstruating. It can really create this inner frustration, and I think in many ways the menstrual pain comes from there as well sometimes. Something that really helped me was I I don't know if you're able to see this, but I created many years ago this kind of special box for myself that I would open when I was menstruating. And for example, one thing I did was I made myself this necklace that every time I was
Wow.
had my period, I would put this necklace on for I don't know how long it lasted, but it was like finding ways of giving messages to my body and to myself that it was a special time, that it was a different moment of the month to the rest of the days, and I would kind of collect treasures in my box and keep also the menstrual pads, and so even though perhaps I wasn't slowing down or resting in the way I would have loved to, the fact of wearing this special necklace, or I also had a lovely friend of mine made these menstrual kind of belts with beads, and that just made me feel that I was in a different space, made me much more aware of what I was feeling and thinking, the kind of messages I was receiving. So I would try to slow down, or incorporate what my body was asking for, somehow adapting it as well. I remember I was for some time teaching children English in school, and when I was menstruating and doing the English classes, my whole class would change. I would like get all the children to lie down and like sing lullabies, and I would do like really relaxed. I try to adapt my work to being in this much slower pace, and they were always really surprised, like, oh, this is a very different kind of class now. So I think it just made me, try and be really creative, think about how can I, adapt my needs to my context. Sometimes, when my son was young, it would be, just doing much more slower things at home with him, whereas other times of the cycle, let's go out and meet with lots of other families and kids. So, I think because it created a lot of frustration in me. My ideal would have been just being completely on my own and resting, sleeping, writing my diary. But when that's not, I mean, there's a whole question there about what is really possible and what isn't. But I would try and also just adapt.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something super practical in what you're saying too. I mean, there are lived realities that we're sort of trying to navigate, but I love just even even the small expressions of honouring and, like marking this time as different, and somehow to bring more consciousness and awareness. I think it's some beautiful examples that you just gave, and I find that something is a question I'm really kind of curious about these days, and find myself asking a lot of people, like how do you do it? How do you mark menstruation? And I think I'm hearing a lot of creative ways too, like what you just shared was very beautiful, just like of wearing a belt, or, beads, or some, just something that feels very natural, very much connected to who you are as an individual and as a woman, and that speaks to your uniqueness. And I think there's obviously no one-size-fits-all way of doing this, but I don't know if you'd like to share a little bit about just maybe from the wider journey that you've been on facilitating this work over so many years. Have there been some, just different rituals or ways in which you've probably seen so many women honouring their bleed in different ways? Is there anything that you'd like to or could share from that could maybe inspire people listening for how they could, give some more space and attention to the menstrual phase, the bleeding phase?
been amazing over the years. I feel like when I started this work, when I first moved to Spain almost 20 years ago, it seemed very, very new, and then there was a lot of interest and thirst for sitting in circle with other women and being able to share our stories, for example, about how we experienced our first menstruation. That has been so
Yeah,
healing, just as women explaining, you know, what happened, what we were told, what we were not told, the kind of messages we received, and I love
yeah,
it, incorporating rituals in my circles, and so really like letting go of all the negative messages that came through to us from you know, being as when we were children or girls and in our first menstruation, um, and then I think a really great resource for so many women, and that was hugely helpful for me, was starting to register my cycle with a moon diary or moon dial. So t- no, taking notice of where the moon is in her cycle and where my menstrual cycle is, and making a at the end of each day just a kind of reflection. How am I feeling? My body, my feelings, my energy, and then noticing where the moon cycle is, and by kind of keeping this diary over many months, and me and so many women, we just can begin to see the patterns, you know,
yeah,
what repeats every month, and that is
yeah,
so helpful, because it's then you're not kind of caught off guard. You can just, I mean, depends if your cycle is more or less regular, but it's so helpful as well to just realize that it's going to change. You know, sometimes when you're in that kind of premenstrual, everything is terrible kind of moment,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
it'll pass, you know, and it's just really helped me and so many women also to extract the really like the positive elements of each of our cycle phases, you know, like really recognize, you know, right now I'm in the week after my menstruation and I've got loads of energy, and you know it's a great idea to, you know, do things that need me to be more rational, and or that, you know, require, yeah, more planning and concentration. Or, you know, when I'm premenstrual, it's a really good time to clear out, you know, clear out the house or work out things that aren't really working in my life. It's kind of the really good pruning moment of our cycle. And so it's just been so helpful for us as women, I think, to just really have a new vision of what our menstrual cycle offers us. You know, that there are actually
yeah.
so many qualities that differ in the different phases, and that's what I really
Yeah.
like wanted to put into the online courses I've made as well, so that women can just make this whole reflection themselves from home, and use these resources.
Great. You know, maybe we could talk about it. And I'm also noticing a couple of people have started to share some of their own rituals in the chat box. So please feel free to, you know, let us know how this is
Yes.
connecting for you, and maybe if you've had any particular ways in which it's menstrual cycle awareness kind of expresses itself, and how you do that. We'd love to hear from the people who are listening to us. And maybe while people are sharing, would you like to tell us a bit then, because you've just created, as far as I'm aware, this new course, Medicine Woman. It's called, it will be in English. I think normally you've been working in Spanish, but you're now starting to, and obviously you're fluent in English, or a native English speaker as well. So
Yeah.
anyway, just curious to tell us about how, you know, your work has led you to this this new birth of Medicine Woman, and what's it about? What are you offering in this workshop, and how, yeah.
Yeah, well, the idea of the medicine woman, I think, really came through also the sense of maturing, you know, over many years, just becoming more and more comfortable and aware the power of being cyclical. And then I met Gemma, who's my partner, who's been working many years offering meditation retreats, and it was just a really beautiful combination, because she's very much like in that place, like in the center of all the cycles, you know, that kind of still place. And I come very much from being very intensely connected with the cycles and the spirals, and it just was a really beautiful combination. And we put together like all the things that have helped us on our path as women in this course, kind of really with the idea of the medicine woman is that part of ourselves that can be, in a way, just in the middle of all the movement, from a place where that can be really embracing everything, you know, like the shadows and the light, and so we really kind of dived into exploring the four archetypes with the maiden, the young woman, the mother archetype, the shamana, and the wise woman, and then in all different ways, kind of giving lots of rituals, exercises, creative activities, ways of connecting with those four energies in us that you can do on your own from home or with other women. And yeah, for me, it's just been a way of kind of bringing together all the wisdom that connecting with my menstrual cycle has given me, and it's I'm really happy to have kind of organized it all into this course that then other people can, other women can take this journey. It's a 1 month journey that you can take, and we've just recently translated it into English. As you say, it's my mother tongue, but I've always been working in Spanish, and now taking this step to share my work also in English.
It sounds wonderful. I've had a look into the course, and I'm curious, Sophia, why now? Do you have a felt sense that there is a kind of readiness in the world, in the culture, or something that wants to emerge that's maybe kind of coming through you in also the creation of this program that is speaking to something of our time? Or does this feel more like just a personal readiness that has kind of matured inside of you through this work? But I gotta get a felt sense that there is something that's really rising and awakening around the feminine consciousness in the world, and I think anybody who's a little bit kind of watching and feeling into that can sort of sense there's a movement, and it's the time for women to sort of step up and really, in their healing and in their power. And I wonder if you've got any thoughts about that or insights around why now?
Yeah, just as you spoke, I kind of got goose pimples all over my body. So it kind of that's always like a sign for me that of something powerful being said. And I think we're all aware of that. We're living in a moment where there are sort of so many different challenges and crises coming together, which for me have so much to do with having separated ourselves from nature and from the cycles of life, and from the earth, even from integrating death into life, and I really feel like as women, but also men who are also opening and sensitive and connected to cycles, that we really, it's time to bring this awareness through, to kind of balance out that we've been for thousands of years really living under this dominant masculine, toxic masculine energy, and it's really time, and we're really seeing so many women and some men wanting to really bring forth this new ways of being in our bodies, in community, respecting diversity, and living closer to the earth. And it's kind of like just an urgent question in terms of where we're going as humanity. But it's also something so intimate and personal. That's what I love. It's like it's really about healing ourselves, you know, at deep inner intimate levels. And at the same time, that's for me why the medicine woman archetype is so powerful, because I feel like that the idea of the medicine woman for me and Gemma, the way we created this course, is very much like an inner journey. And at the same time, it expands out, you know, all this inner transformation and healing that we can do as women. And then, you know, that in our communities, in our relationships, in our work, that we can really kind of expand out the fruits of that inner journey. And, you know, we can really make changes in small but real ways, each one, you know, each of us where we are.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. You know, I feel that this is really a very central part of what this sort of transformational work is, that it starts within, but somewhere it has to bear fruits. And, you know, as you rightly say, I think, you know, we're all aware that the earth is imperiled, and we are in this crisis, and the way in which we've been doing business on earth, you know, is clearly not working. So it's sort of like, you know, my felt sense too is that there is a different kind of consciousness that's wanting to be born, and you know, it's something that is kind of coming through also, like the whole awareness around cyclicality, I think, is a really key piece, according to my sort of growing understanding as well. It's like we've been on linear time for so long, and you know, it's unnatural. So there is something very, I think, powerful and that you're tapping into, and you're describing and sensing that, you know, that there is this restorative action, and then sort of like when we come into right relationship with ourselves and with the reality of being cyclical, of nature as living in cycles, that, you know, this starts to put things into place and into perspective, and then hopefully, you know, as we come into this sort of more healthy, whole in its deeper sense relationship with ourselves and with each other, and, you know, and sort of supporting each other in those journeys as well, that, you know, it will start to show up in a different way of how we're inhabiting our lives and acting on the earth. So I do feel that it's very powerful what you're describing and what you're offering, and obviously that's really why I wanted to have this chat with you today, is just to try to give as many people as possible the opportunity to, you know about you, know about the offering that you have. And yeah, do you want to just share a little bit more about just some of the practicalities? Like, you've got obviously a website, and how do people sort of, if they'd like to learn more about this workshop, or when is it starting, and what would be a way to kind of learn more?
Yeah, well, you can find my website going through cyclicalwoman.com. Take you into the Mujer Cíclica website, the English section, and there, we're starting a blog section with articles, and there's where you can also find the online course, Medicine Woman: A Journey to Your Center. The next edition, it will start on the 25th of October. And it lasts for 1 month, and a group of women. It's the course is run in harmony with the moon cycle, so it starts with the waning moon, and you take the course with the same group of women, the same journey at the same time as you.
Will there be a way for participants to kind of connect with each other throughout the course and kind of nurture a little bit community with
we
that?
have got. We use a private Facebook page for connecting between the people in the course. We've tried many different kind of platforms and formats, and in the end, that's what we're using at the moment. And it's a place where people can share photos or videos or write about their experience.
And I'm guessing that it'll be also an international group of participants.
So
Do you
I
know
couldn't hear the
who's sort
first
of...
part of the
Oh,
question.
okay. I'm assuming that there'll be an international group of women from all over the world, presumably,
Yes,
or...
yes, yeah. I mean, Gemma has also, she's been traveling, giving retreats around different parts of the world, Holland and Germany and India, Australia. So yeah, her network is also very international. So I mean that's always been very rich with my Spanish speaking community. That connecting women from Europe with all of Latin America. That has always been very inspiring. Those connections as well.
Nice. Well, I hope perhaps some of the, if we have some of our community from India listening, I hope maybe that you can think about it. What I'm really seeing is that there is, I feel, really a movement of awareness growing around, menstrual cycle connection and intimacy. So I feel that it's sort of a seed that's starting to ripen here as well as in the West. I think we're sort of recognizing this kind of call back to embodying ourselves as nature, and it's time. So I hope that perhaps some of you would look a little bit more deeply into the opportunity, what you're offering. And is there anything else that you would like to share or say about your work or who you are and what's kind of inspiring your journey, or do you feel you've kind of...
Well, I've been working with online courses for many years, but also I just it's so inspiring when we can come together in circles and more I'm offering my retreats and workshops in really kind of wild places in nature, and that for me that's becoming just more and more important to be able to really listen to nature, to the elements, to go out into the forest and just really open up our awareness and listen to the messages of what we see. It's like I feel that this is a really important time to cultivate our ability to listen at a deeper level. And
Yeah.
I'm also very excited. I've just starting a new project of bringing together men and women in circles. It's called the deep listening between men and women. And that's
Beautiful.
also feels like a very, very powerful and healing step for me after 20 years of working in women's circles, which has been just very transformative. And now just wanting also to create a space where women and men we can share from a deep level about our experiences as women, as men, and there's a lot of collective kind of accumulated pain that
Yeah.
just by telling our
Yeah.
stories, it was so powerful the other day. We just told with specific powerful questions, we answered and told stories in circle, and it was incredibly simple and but healing to just for the to be able to share from a vulnerable and authentic place experiences that we've had as men.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm very excited about that as well.
Wow, that sounds extraordinary. I'm really delighted to hear about it. I agree. I know the power of telling and listening to our stories. I think it's truly one of the most powerful things that we can do is share and also bear witness to each other's truths and stories in this way. And to be doing that now with in mixed gender groups, I think is absolutely powerful and necessary and extraordinary work. I'd love to I'd love to be part of such a circle, actually. Yeah, sounds wonderful. Good for you. Great. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time today. I know you've got plenty going on, but it's been a joy to connect with you face to face after, just knowing of you and your work and really being inspired by it for so very long. So I wish you all the best in the upcoming workshop, and blessings to you and for all that you're doing. And thank you for doing it.
It's really inspiring to talk to you and connect and see you after all these years.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you as well for the really the menstrual cloth pads really have been a very important part of my journey, and it was wonderful for many years I sold the Eco Femme pads here in Spain, and it was wonderful to just see them reaching lots of women and also being part of this change.
Yeah, it's a small and powerful part of the overall. Thank you. Okay, take care, and
thanks. Thank you to
lots
everyone
of love.
who's here.
Yes, thank you for all who have joined us on this conversation today. Be well, take care, and lots of love.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Now, how does this...